Hi and welcome. So today I wanted to share with you how, those surface solutions and some of the things we're trying to help us resolve our emotional eating are not actually getting to the deeper roots. And it's not looking at the two layers and levels of stress that we experience as emotional eaters. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist specializing in emotional eating. And I wanted to share this with you because I think that a lot of the times when we are trying to resolve our emotional eating, we are still in the management phase of it. We're constantly managing our emotional eating. We're constantly willpower. We're constantly trying to find a solution because it doesn't fully go away. It's still under the surface, and it doesn't matter what we do and what we're told to do. It doesn't seem to tap in and hit the nail on the head. And for me, when I was emotionally eating, when I realized what was happening, it was really frustrating because if I looked back on what I had been trying to help me, everything was still on the surface. And I know it doesn't always seem like that we're really trying. We're trying to shift our behaviors, shift our patterns. But if we don't hit this at the deep root, that pattern will still play out and we'll still feel like we're almost like running away from it, trying to cover it up. It's sort of like that game where you whack-a-mole, you're hitting one mole, then another thing pops up. It lasts a few weeks that, we're not binging, and then it comes back and we haven't really discovered or learned how to get to that deeper root. And so we might be doing, the things to help us mitigate stress because emotional eating is a coping mechanism. It's triggered by stress, unresolved emotions, discomfort. And so we think, this is about stress. Let me manage my stress. Let me mitigate my stress. But we're doing all the surface things. So if we're going for a walk, we're doing the yoga, we are even going to talk therapy to a degree. This is all on the surface. It's a management. It's sort of buying us some time. It's not giving us that deep exhale in our body, which comes from deep resolution of this pattern. And that's what we're looking for. And so when we're still on the surface, we're doing the yoga, the adaptogens, we're trying to eat well, we're trying to help our body and ourselves to feel good. But if we don't get to that deeper root, it's almost just spinning under the surface, constantly going, and we feel out of control. And so we need to look at the deeper roots of this pattern. And what I've found working with clients, the deeper roots of this pattern are, they're from childhood, they're from unresolved emotions and traumas that we've experienced that we weren't able to move through and resolve. And they keep playing out. And the way we learn to cope with them is to use food. We use food to manage our mood. We use food to distract ourselves. We use food to give us pleasure. We use food as a substitute for so many things that were lacking at the time we went through this particular event. And no, this event was not you sitting around eating 5 bags of chips. It was something different. So there could have been, like I mentioned, unresolved emotion. Something happened. You weren't, regulated by your parents. You weren't given the care and attention and acceptance that you needed or validation. Maybe you were shamed. All of these things are happening and it's uncomfortable. It's unbearable. And so as children, we need to survive, and food becomes this thing we can use to cope. It also complicates it when we are in a society that doesn't know how to relate to food in a healthy way, or our bodies. We hear these things thrown around and we hear concepts, we see people starving themselves or restricting our parents or women around us, or, criticizing their bodies, criticizing us, and that ingrains deeper into the pattern as well. And then our society, as we grow up, it doesn't help us with telling us we should be doing this diet and this thing to help our emotional eating. There's a discernment here that I like to make just for myself. But, emotional eating has to do with emotions. When we're not nourishing our body, that has more to do with why we're probably on the hunt for calories and needing to eat more. And so there's a discernment with the two. One is coming from more of a physical hunger and from restriction, and one is coming from more, this coping mechanism and using food to soothe and this association with food. And so we need to be able to distinguish the two of those. But what I'm trying to say here is that there are two levels of stress happening. There's these deeper traumas that are triggered running the emotional eating pattern. And there's also the way, on the surface that these symptoms have expressed. So, we do need to be looking at these two levels. Maybe we don't have the best relationship to food or our body. We need to be healing that, learning new ways of nourishing our body, putting in the foods that are going to actually serve our body. And that's more on the surface, having the adaptogens, moving our body in a more gentler way. That's the yoga, going for a walk. But we need to, and learning new ways of being, that could be through talk therapy and awareness. But if we don't hit it and get to that deeper root and clear it out, these things are just helping us manage our situation. They're not helping us actually move forward and thrive. When we get to the deeper root and we resolve it, we're able to move forward in a really powerful way because we're not holding ourselves back. We're not holding back with resistance. We don't have sort of this anchor weighing us down. We can really see and tap into our true needs. Also, moving through whatever created this pattern is going to get us in touch with our true needs versus the surface solutions. I love yoga, I love adaptogens, I love walks, I love all those things. They help to regulate your nervous system and they do help with stress. But that's the day-to-day stress we experience, not the deeper stress that's creating this pattern that's being triggered. If we are not looking at the deeper roots, we're just in management. So if I go for a walk or I ground, I know I'm adding to my body. I've already cleared out the root. So this is just adding on top of my health. It's not a substitute for what is kind of taking away from my vitality and my energy in this coping mechanism, in this unhealthy way of being. I'm not trying to band-aid with, yoga or a walk. Yoga and a walk become something that aids my growth and my health. And so there's a discernment between the two. And so if you can sort of see, there are these two levels of stress happening. They're sort of on the surface. And if you have, a healthy relationship to food and your body and your emotions and all of that, these are really amazing tools, yoga and movement, and they're helpful to create a structure for you, but we need to be pulling out the roots. If you don't have deep roots or this emotional eating pattern, you're good. These things are going to add to your health like they're advertised. But if we have this deeper pattern, we need to dive deeper. We need to pull them out at the roots so that we clear it out. We integrate this, and this is happening at a body level. That's where we hold trauma, on a body level, so that when we clear it out and we resolve this, we can move forward in a really powerful way. So I just wanted to share that with you so you can sort of see the discernment between using sort of the surface strategies. And notice I didn't talk about surgeries and pills. Those are almost just band-aids. So there are things that actually help our nervous system to be regulated, like yoga and gentle movement and walks and adaptogens, things that can help our stress levels. But if we're not pulling out the deeper root, it's sort of like putting ice cream on top of poop. It doesn't really work. We need to be doing them both hand in hand. And inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program, we are looking at this from both angles. So if there's something you need to shift in your life that's not a deep trauma, we shift it and it's going to help you feel good and move forward. But if there's resistance and blocks and the deeper roots and unresolved emotions, we look at that to clear it out so that you can move forward. So we need to be looking at both of these levels in order to resolve this pattern. And that's why emotional eating is so multifaceted and multi-layered. It's not just one thing that's going to help you. We need to look at you and your pattern. So if what I'm saying is resonating for you and you'd like to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution program, you can check out the link below. The Emotional Eating Evolution program is a step-by-step process. It's a 12-week container where you're guided through resolving your emotional eating through the areas of food, your body, and your emotions so that you can finally feel confident in your body and around food. There's a tons of coaching. There's deep, in-depth somatic meditations to move past any resistance or blocks. There's accountability and there is support. So you can find out more about it below. And also, if you are ready to resolve your emotional eating, you can also book in an emotional eating clarity call. On the call, we find out more about you, what your goals are, and how we can support you in the program, or if it's even a fit. If not, we'll send you off in the right direction. The call's no strings attached. It's really to get a gauge of where you're at and to give you a lot more clarity and if the program is the next best step for you. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.